Hello everybody, I'm day weather meteorologist Don Day with your Public Lands Council weekly weather update for this February 3rd, 2024. Being brought to you by WSR Insurance Services Incorporated and also brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors. Well, after quite the spell of almost spring-like weather, here over the past few days we've had storms hit the West Coast, the Pacific Northwest, the Great Basin, and the Desert Southwest, and as of the making of this video, moving into the Rockies. So that spell of spring-like weather is over, as it's going to be a colder, wet, and snowy pattern across all of the western United States over the next week, and we think it's going to go longer than that. This pattern change is a big one, and it's going to lead to what is going to be a more stormy pattern. We're not going to have these large periods where we are dry and mild, just like what we experience, but rather a more frequent pattern of storms, which will likely continue through the month of February into the month of March. I think that's a really good likelihood. So this is good news and bad news. The good news is it's going to increase the snowpack across the West, which needs it, especially in the central and southern Rockies, the Sierra Nevada, to a lesser extent, the Pacific Northwest and Northern Rockies, where the snow will be a little bit less, but even those areas will be getting into the act with this weather pattern change. And you can see that over the last week, there's a large part of the nation, really right here, that's very little moisture, really. This does not represent all of the rain that's fallen this past week in California, as there should be a lot more red and orange here when we update you next. But you can see that other than across the east, a large part of the west, the activity of precipitation was fairly small except along the far western areas. Snowfall reflects that, kind of spotty, not too widespread, not too heavy, but that'll change. One thing that really has changed over the last week are our temperatures. We flipped. We were very quiet and mild between Christmas and just past New Year's. Then the middle of January, we had the big cold outbreak, the Arctic Express. Now we've had a big warm up. Temperatures relative to normal in Canada and the northern tier have been the warmest, coolest in the south. That's a classic El Nino signature, but we're going to see this change. But despite the warm-up, since January 1st, this stretch here still has had temperatures below average for the month of for the year so far. And we're going to see the colder weather return to the west going forward, and this is why. We start off the weekend with a deep storm over the Texas Panhandle. This will bring rain to a lot of the plains, but further west in the Rockies and the western high plains, this area right here is going to see significant areas of snow in the high elevations, rain, snow mix down low. More stormy weather will hit California, the Pacific Northwest. In fact, California is going to have very, very heavy rain this weekend into early next week. And that storm system still has to come east, and that will, by next weekend, we've got lots of lows. Another one coming across Arizona, a couple more behind it there, another one here. So they're queued up. This means the western United States is going to go back into a winter pattern again. Colder temperatures, more frequent chances of rain and snow, and more challenging weather certainly is on the table as we go further into the month of February. And you can see that between now and next Saturday, you can see the heavy rains and snows in California, but look at all the orange and the blue and the yellows here in the west. Even Montana, across Wyoming, Colorado, across the South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, the Great Basin states, the southwestern United States right here, the key snowpack areas of the Colorado system, going to get a really good slug of moisture. That's why the snowpack, especially along and south of this line, is going to get a big boost. We're also going to see some moisture out on the plains as well, and that'll be good to see. Snowfall-wise, it'll be limited somewhat to the higher elevations, as the lower elevations in that milder pattern here are going to be mostly looking at rain. But as you get further north and west into the higher elevations and the higher latitudes, well, then you're going to start to see where we're going to have snow over the next 7 days and more coming after that. Have yourself a good weekend. Be ready for more stormy weather.